In this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast, it's all about Mr. Mavs Magic Draft. Richard Stayman want to hear his thoughts on the 2023 rookie class and how he believes they will perform this year. We're going to talk about who he thinks will win Rookie of the Year, his all-rookie team predictions, and which guys are probably going to maybe struggle a little bit and which guys could come out of nowhere and surprise us. So basically, who could be this year's Walker Kessler? Stay tuned. Big shout out to each and every person that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Rafael Barlowe, the director of scouting for NBA Big Board, and my co-host, Richard Stayman, Mr. Mavs Draft. We all know Mr. Mavs Magic Draft. I don't know why I keep just saying just Mavs, but I got to throw in the Magic. No disrespect, because I know that you were born in the Orlando area. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was born in Orlando. Hey, to be fair, it's not your fault. My handle on Twitter is just Mavs Draft, so it's not your fault.
Oh, okay. Thank you for clearing that up. But before we get into today's episode, I want to let you know that this episode is brought to you by Dave. Download Dave today at dave.com/lockedonnba, and you can get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less. No credit check, no late fees. That is dave.com. All right, the 2023-24 season has already kicked off. I think every team has played a game.
Yep.
I was out of the country last week, so a little bit behind. I was hoping to get some of these episodes done before the season started, but a little behind between being under the weather and traveling and so on, but we still got time. So I wanted to get Richard's thoughts on this 23 rookie class, which a lot of people thought it was a very strong class. And I want to hear his thoughts on Rookie of the Year, first team all rookie. So we'll just get started. All right. So the Rookie of the Year race, is it a one-man race, two-man race, or do you think there's 3 or 4, maybe even 5 guys that could potentially win Rookie of the Year?
So there's 2 ways I look at it. If everyone plays the 65 games, right, that's eligible, they all become eligible for the Rookie of the Year award. It's Victor's. Like it's just, that's it. Now, if I don't know if I trust Victor to be playing 65 games this year. I think it's a valid question mark. And if that does become the case, there's going to be someone else, right? Like kind of the same way 2012, Anthony Davis was the best rookie, but he didn't play enough. He was hurt a lot. Damian Lillard was also fantastic.
I thought I'm a Blazers fan.
That's fair. I realize I should have thought that one through. No, but like it was the same way, right? Where yeah, Dame was the Rookie of the Year, but I think when you look at who the best player from that class was, I still think it's Anthony Davis. And I think that might just be what it is this year, right? Where it's you have 2 guys who are going to be fantastic. Just one of them's a little bit more healthy than the other and played more games. And if that's the case, I think there's a decent amount of guys that can emerge. There was a few top 10 guys I thought would maybe be a little bit stronger out of the gate, but it's only been 1 game and more out of the gate. I mean, just like they weren't in the first game's rotation. I thought that was kind of shocking. So I think that it's going to be a tight race between 2 guys. Ultimately, is my prediction because nobody plays 82 games for the year.
Let's speak on the guys that are out the rotation. I did some research. 6 out of the 14 lottery picks played less than 10 minutes per game.
Yeah.
Jordan Hawkins played 9, but after that, you could say Anthony Black 448, Jet Howard 448, Jarris 5 minutes. So are you saying like there's no chance for those guys? I mean, just based off of 1 game, it looks like they're going to get in.
No, I mean, it's more just like they're on the outside looking in for the rotation. Like they've got an uphill battle to get those minutes. Like it just is what it is. Like a lot of those guys were not drafted for year 1 value. I'd say maybe Jarris was. That was kind of shocking. But I mean, even kind of furthering it, if you wanted to say, well, Jordan Hawkins played 9 minutes, Kobe Buffkin, the next pick, the 15th pick, played 0. So like it's kind of the same thing, right? And I personally, the most shocking one was not Jarris for me. It was really Grady Dick. I was really stunned to see him play 2 minutes. And it was real 2 minutes. It wasn't garbage time minutes. He played in like the second quarter or something. Didn't play again after. I thought that was kind of weird. But yeah, it's just a weird thing where, you see a lot of, and even then, Brandon Miller, I don't I don't know if he started. I don't think he started.
He didn't start, but I think he had like 8 points in the fourth quarter or something like that.
Yeah, that's what it was.
But
And
Hayward
I know Ahmed didn't start.
Yeah. Hayward started for Charlotte. They started Ball, Rozier, Hayward, PJ. So I don't even know if he's going to start early until maybe they move Hayward or whatever. But yeah, but like only two guys played 30 minutes. That was Lively and Scoot Henderson. I think Victor probably would have got to 30 or close to it if he didn't have foul trouble. So let's talk about this Rookie of the Year race. Do you think it's between Victor and Chet if you were to have to choose who are the two top guys?
I think Chet's the obvious pick. It's too early to really emerge for anyone else. I think it's Scoot, though. I really think Scoot is better than Chet, and he's going to have way more opportunities to improve his volume. Not necessarily the efficiency, but I think Scoot's going to have a lot of chances to he's going to have the most margin for error. And just historically, those kind of guys, they do get higher up in Rookie of the Years because Rookie of the Year generally is a counting stats award, not necessarily who is the most impactful on the best team. It's different from all the other awards.
What's interesting is that Scoot had a very injury-filled 22-23 season, but nobody seems concerned about his injury. Victor was healthy, played a whole season, played for the French national team during the season, and people are still trying to put an asterisk. Oh, is he going to stay healthy? Is he going to hold up? I just think that's interesting in a sense.
It's fair. I think the big thing, though, is kind of, we talked about it, right? Which is they held him out more than, like, at the end of the year, they didn't want their guys, not even just Scoot. It was gradual where they would take out Leonard Miller, City Sissoko. They would just kind of be like, all right, let's like ease them out of the rotation and out of playing so they don't get hurt. So I do think that does play a little bit of a role into it. But ultimately, yeah, you are right. Scoot has had more injuries really over the last year and a half than Victor has.
Yeah, I mean, Victor did have a pretty banged up year with Asvel 2 years ago, but he was healthy last year, played a lot of minutes, played a heavy role, and even took like some huge risk by playing in some like qualification tournaments in the middle of the year. So you would say Scoot has a better chance to compete with Victor for Rookie of the Year over Chet.
Yeah, I think it's just because the volume. I don't know how Chet surpasses him in volume, like unless he's just hyper efficient, which I don't know if he will be. I think it's going to be really tough to get to even match the amount of points and assists plus rebounds total that Scoot has. Given that SGA is going to score 29, 30 plus points a game. Jalen Williams is probably going to be close to 20 points a game. And you got some other guys in there sprinkled as well. I mean, Josh Giddey, yeah, he's a facilitator first, but he's still going to put up 15 points a game probably. So you have a lot of points to go around. And I just don't know if Chet can, it's not Chet's fault. Like if you're looking at impact, I think he's going to be significantly more impactful than Scoot, but it just kind of is what it is.
And here's why I disagree, because I think Victor's going to be on TV, and I think Chet is going to be on TV. And I do not see very many Blazers games on TV. So I think the TV games are going to have a big impact because I can't think of a time in recent memory where we're going to see the top. Well, I mean, I guess Chet wasn't in this class, but we're going to see the top pick with national TV games, and then I guess his biggest competitor for Rookie of the Year with other national TV games. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but I know there's more national TV games for Victor and Chet than, let's say, last year Jabari and Banchero. So I think the TV games are going to have an impact because I think the NBA definitely wants to get SGA on some national TV games. All right. Let's talk about all rookie. This could be kind of tough to narrow it down, but who do you have as your top 5 for all rookie? Now, positions don't matter, right?
Correct. You could put 5 centers on there if you really wanted to. You could have Lively, you could have Chet and Wembanyama if you really, really wanted to.
All right. So
I probably will.
so who are your top 5 rookies?
I will overreact to one game in this very specific situation. Lively was so far ahead of what I thought he would be, and that what I thought was a bad matchup for him. With Zach Collins, I thought would give him trouble, and then Wembanyama I thought would really give him trouble. Now, obviously, foul trouble played a role, but Lively looked really good out there. And I can't imagine, that like teams are going to counter, they'll be able to figure out new game plans, whatever. But at the end of the day, we've seen this in Dallas where anybody who can dunk that is 6'11" or taller, or really 6'9", actually, if you're counting Dwight Powell, they thrive next to Luka. That's not going to change. The defense isn't going to change that much for Lively. I think a lot of what you saw was sustainable, concrete. That's just what he's going to be this year. And he was good. Will he outplay Wembanyama every time? Probably not. But I think he's somebody that like is an absolute lock on there.
All right. When we return, I want to talk a little bit more about Derek Lively, because if I remember correctly, you weren't the biggest Lively Mavs guy. I want to see how much has that changed. Stay tuned. All right, before we get into the second segment, I wanted to talk to you about Dave, because at one time or another, we've all been through it, but at one time or another, we've all needed a little financial help, and that is where Dave comes in, because Dave is great. Dave can get you cash when you need it, especially if you are in between paychecks, and Dave can also help you build credit by settling with their extra cash advances on time. And Dave has been useful for so many people. I mean, I know I've been in situations where I got hit with some unexpected expenses, and I'm a guy that bet on himself and wanted to be independent and work in sports. And sometimes when you take that road, you end up with a lot of times where you don't have money, you need money to pay for bills. And I wish when I was going through that, I had a Dave. And finances can be so intimidating, and that's why you need Dave, because Dave can make managing your money so much easier with an interest-free extra cash advance. It is fee-free. So you probably wonder, okay, so who is this Dave guy, or what is Dave? And Dave is a banking app that is leveling the financial playing field. When you download Dave, you can get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less. There's no credit check, there's no late fees, and it is part of Dave's extra cash account. Advance the money you need with no interest, and then you can settle up for later. So download Dave at dave.com/LockedOnNBA. That is dave.com/LockedOnNBA, and you can get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less. There is no credit check and no late fees. So again, download the Dave app. Download dave.com/LockedOnNBA. Remember, terms and conditions apply. Just go to dave.com/legal. Eligibility criteria and instant transfer fees apply. And the banking services are provided by Evolve, which is a member of the FDIC. Next, I want to talk to you about Jase Medical and the importance of getting a Jase case, because we've all seen or paid attention to what is going on in the world, from hurricanes to fires to civil unrest to wars. And you're wondering, like, where are you going with this? But all of that can impact supply chain shortages, and supply chain shortages for medications, and the inability for people to get medication in a timely manner is pretty scary. And that's where Jase Medical comes in at, because you can get a customized Jase case that has the 5 essential antibiotics that treat the most common and deadly bacterial infections. So go to Jase Medical, because they actually have the customized Jase case with dozens of add-on medications. So choose Jase Medical. And now Jase Medical offers customized add-on medications. This would be great for you and your family, and they can have you can pick out the best medications that fit your family's unique needs. So go to jasemedical.com, enter the promo code LOCKEDON at checkout, and you can get a $20 discount. That is Jase, Jase medical.com. Use the promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, at jasemedical.com. Again, you can get a $20 discount. All right, when we left off, Richard was very high on Derek Lively, and I think his tone has changed a little bit. and going back in like retrospect, if that's the correct word to use, what were your concerns about Lively prior to the draft pick, and do you still have those concerns today?
So let's just rewind to save myself some face here. If you remember when we recorded in like September, I was like, Derek Lively's the third best player. I was really in on him. I thought he would be so good in college. I thought he'd average a double, 3 blocks a game, take a 3 a game. He didn't do that. And I think that really soured on me because I didn't count for some of the injuries and things like that. The things that really scared me was there were 2 things that just I would say were the major flags. Passiveness. He was very passive until I'd say for honestly just most of the season. Even in
all season, the very last game of the year, he would roll and just stand there.
Yeah, so I was like, well, if you're doing that in college, how is that going to change in 6 months? And I guess it did. I don't know exactly what happened, but I underestimated that ability to change that quickly. And then also the touch at the rim and strength. I thought those 2 things combined played a role. I mean, we've talked about it. His layup percentage was extremely low. And then in the first game, he hits a turnaround putback, lefty touch off the glass, right on the money. So maybe it was just small sample size, but those were the 2 things that really scared me. And I thought maybe, some foul issues, some defensive ball watching. I was shocked at how quickly he's turned it around. I thought he was a long-term guy. That's really why I didn't want him on Dallas at first, because I think what I saw was a win now pick for a guy who's a long-term play. And, this is why they're the ones making these decisions and not me at the moment. And I think, like, not to discredit myself, but that is something where really, going the ins and outs of interviewing and working him out, that's the stuff where you see that's the value of why teams go sometimes against the grain of what we say. We're like, well, on film, it's this. Why isn't it that way? Behind the scenes matters a lot.
Yeah, I was high on Lively coming into the season. I soured on him. And then towards the back end of the season, I was back high on him again. And I thought he was the perfect pick for Dallas as soon as the lottery results were released. The thing that stood out to me was, all right, he is basically a game changer on defense. At least he was on the college level at the second half of the year without getting touches. So my mindset is, like they say, feed the big man, reward the big man. If you got a guy that's blocking shots and hustling and still playing hard on the defensive end when he's not getting rewarded, imagine what he'll do for you if he knows, all right, if I screen, somebody's going to find me. And I just thought fit for him was perfect in Dallas because he has a phenomenal playmaker that will find him. And I think the defense could be even better once he knows that he is getting rewarded. So I just thought the fit was perfect. And I just saw at Duke, like he knew he was not getting the ball. He would set a high ball screen, stand there, and then just say, let me get back on defense because this is going up. And I didn't like the fit with Filipowski either. So I'm not surprised. The only thing I was surprised is that Kid didn't start him. But again, maybe I should not be too surprised because Kid seems to play, I don't want to call it mind games, but he does do things a little bit differently. All right, so we got Lively 1. Who is another player that's on your first team all rookie?
I think we're going to see, like, I want to preface this. He's not going to get there because of offensive prowess, this guy, but I think Asar Thompson, somebody that has to be there. And I would say also, like, the first 3 guys, I really do think Wembanyama, Scoot, really 4, Chet, and Lively. I think those are my heavy 4. And then it's 1. I would say Asar Thompson's probably the last one. Like, I know it's 1 game, but what he's done with the ball in his hands as a passer in the defense, we've seen it at OTE. We saw it in preseason. We saw it in Summer League. First game against the Heat, who the Heat are not a slouch defensively. Like, he did a really good job. And then also he had multiple blocks on 1 play. Like, I think he's going to be somebody that he's going to be that impact guy on a bad team that get voters like.
So you're going to put Asar Thompson over Brandon Miller for your first team all rookie.
I think it's going to come down to, I really do think those 4 are going to be the front runners. I think it's going to be a legitimate debate. I want to see obviously how it plays out, but I also just don't know. It's tough because Asar starts. And
because Bogdanovich is out.
Yeah. But it might even out. Like, Gordon Hayward's probably not finishing the year there. So it'll probably even out. It's going to be one of those things where I do think Asar is going to be the great impact defender, mediocre offensive player. Whereas Brandon Miller, I think, is going to get decent volume, decent efficiency. Like, he's just going to be good at everything, but not that great one area to make him like a high value guy just in year one.
I think Brandon Miller's going to have a good year. He has the ball handler that's going to get him open looks. Although it was one game, he was 3 of 7 from 3, scored 13 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists in 24 minutes. So I think he's going to shoot the ball well. I think that he's going to rebound. And I think Charlotte is actually going to be decent. I mean, I look at their team. They were 43 and 39 2 years ago. It's pretty much the same team, but you'd have to figure LaMelo should be better. Mark Williams should be better than their center 2 years ago. Was it Plumlee? You got to factor PJ Washington is going to be better. If Rozier is the same, if Hayward actually plays, I think Charlotte is going to be a surprisingly good team. And I think Brandon Miller is going to be able to play a role where he's averaging between 13 to 15 points per game on a team that could possibly win 40 games. And I said on draft day, I was not a big fan of the Thompson fit in Detroit just because I'm a Cade fan and I believe you need to surround Cade with shooters. And I'm not saying that they made the wrong choice, because I wouldn't have taken like Grady Dick there or, a shooter there. But I just think it's going to be very difficult for him to get buckets in the half court, because I think teams are just going to sag off of him. I mean, he was 1 for 7 from the floor, but his defensive impact outweighed how bad he shot. Yeah. But I just think that the Detroit with their weird four guard situation, I mean, I guess you can say you throw in Sasser. I think that's just going to be very, very interesting all season. All right, so you got Lively, Wembanyama, Asor, Scoot, and then who?
Chet.
And then Chet. All right, when we return, we'll talk about your second team all-rookie, and then also we'll talk about who could be this year's Walker Kessler, a rookie that is drafted outside of the lottery that comes in surprises, or maybe even, it's probably wrong to say this, who could be this year's Johnny Davis, a guy that is a lottery pick that really struggles and spends a lot of time in the G League. I know the guy, the first name that comes to mind for me. Stay tuned. All right, before we get into the last segment, I want to talk to you about PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. It is the largest independent daily fantasy sports platform in North America, and it is the easiest because all you have to do is pick 2 to 6 players. You're not going against thousands of competitors and other players, including these guys that are pros and sharks. You pick more or less than 2 to 6 players and their stat projections, and the winnings can roll in. You can win up to 25 times your money. Again, 25 times your money. PrizePicks is very simple to play. I can make my picks and I can put in the entry in less than 60 seconds. The withdrawals are quick and fast, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types is what makes PrizePicks so special. For example, you can say, is Jaren Jackson going to block more than 2 shots per game? Or is Nikola Jokic going to make more than, or dish out more than 8 assists? There's so many different options for PrizePicks. And again, it is daily fantasy made easy. So all you have to do is go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. But you got to use the code LockedOnNBA. Remember, prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you use the code LockedOnNBA, you can get a first deposit match up to $100. All right, last segment. So Richard gave us his first team all rookie. Who are your second 5 guys?
I think so. Brandon Miller has to be the first one there, because I agree with most of the points, right? Like, I just think it's a who's better thing with Asar Thompson for rookie year. I think Brandon Miller will headline the second team. I think he's the first pick. I might need a second to think about what I was going to say before, but man, I'll bite the bullet. I'll say Keontae George. I think he's going to be somebody that has a lot of ups and downs, but the ups are going to be so high that he's going to be hard to keep off of it. What do you think about him?
I could be a little biased towards Keontae. I've liked Keontae for a long time. He just looks like a pro. Like, he looks like he was meant to play professional basketball over college basketball. I think some people are trying to figure out, is he a 1? Is he a 2? Is he a hybrid? But he just looks comfortable out there. I think eventually Utah is going to decide, like, you know what, this is our guy. And they're going to give him the keys to the offense. And I think he's going to have some really good moments. And I mean, if you're Utah, what do you have to lose? Like, yeah. I think long-term, you have to say, hey, I think Keontae George is better than Horton Tucker. I think long-term, Keontae George is better than Colin Sexton. So let's just give him the keys. I mean, they got a bunch of picks, right? from the Gobert trade. So I just think you just need to just say, hey, Keontae, you're the best long-term player here. He seems ready. He was the best rookie at Summer League. So I think he might have a chance to be first team all rookie. It's just how long are they going to try to how long are they going to go with Horton Tucker and Clarkson as their starting backcourt?
Well, I think my next one will be Bilal Coulibaly. I think he's going to play a lot of minutes. He's another guy who the defense is going to get him a lot of respect around the league.
They gave up 143, so he might need to
play. Individual is important on that. Individual.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, they gave up 143 as a team, so they're probably going to have to put some defenders out there because, I mean, it was 143 to the Pacers. No disrespect to the Pacers, but that's not the Phoenix Suns. Like, you know what I mean?
Hey, shout out Tyrese Halliburton, though.
Yeah.
I would say the last two, I'm trying not to like overreact to who played the first game, but I do think there is a sense of like getting that hot start does actually matter a lot. And while the rotations aren't set, I do think the guys who are in the rotation now have a significant just leg up, right, on the guys who aren't. Like Jaime Jaquez has a leg up on Jarace Walker at the moment. So I'm tempted to put him in there. I really don't know. I'm trying not to overreact to Casey Wallace's game because he did play extended minutes because of the score that was in that game. It was pretty rough, but I'll go with Jaime Jaquez as the 9th spot. And then the last one, I'm debating between 3 guys that none of them really played in their first game. And it's tough. I think Jarace Walker could easily be there. I really like Chris Murray. I think he's somebody who's going to thrive in that just off-ball role. And then this guy didn't even play, but I think this is somebody who became a darling in preseason, and I warmed up to a lot of it with the fit, is Julian Strawther in Denver. I think you look at championship teams don't have their rotation set. Like, no team does. But like Denver doesn't have their rotation set, and he's somebody who could easily come in, thrive off of Jokic. I'm torn on who to pick. I'd probably spin a wheel and I'd go with I'll say Jarace Walker. I think eventually he's somebody who thrives under somebody like Rick Carlisle. I think he's just going to force his way into the rotation.
So what's your full second 5?
So it is Brandon Miller, Bilal Coulibaly, Keontae George, Jaime Jaquez, and Jarace Walker.
So no Amen Thompson?
He's and I should have thrown him in there. I don't know what to do with him, because the Rockets were a mess in game 1. It was one game, but like here's my thing. None of their problems from last year are going to be fixed overnight. And Amen Thompson's not going to be able to fix it. The shot is really, really bad. And I think he's in a tough spot because Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green have so much priority there. Is he a top 10 rookie because of that? It's not his fault.
Yeah. He got 21 minutes though. So
yeah, he did. He didn't do a lot of them, and some of them were those final 5 minutes, like against Anthony Black when he came in too. It was kind of garbage time, but I just don't know what to do with him. The Houston team just throws me off so much that I'm leaving him off of it. It's not his fault. I think his situation is going to screw him in that regard.
I mean, I had to double check to make sure that the NBA app wasn't wrong, but he was 3 of 10 from the floor and 1 for 7 from 3.
Yeah, that's the issue. Isn't even the 1. It's the issue is why is he taking 7 threes? And he got to the rim a few times, but the focal point was, hey, Amen, stick on the perimeter. And it's like, that's the worst way to maximize someone like Amen Thompson. He's not an off-ball player. So that's where I'm like, is that going to change? Is that something that's permanent? I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many guys that, I mean, and I know you got to think long-term way ahead, but there were so many guys in this class that even during the pre-draft process between the lottery results and the draft, and you're putting together your mock drafts, and of course you want to do it based off of fit a little bit. You're trying to visualize how this guy fits in. I mean, at least to me, that's just natural. But there were quite a few guys I'm just like, this fit is ugly. And I feel like with both Thompson twins, I didn't like either fit. And maybe Amen if they didn't bring in a point guard. Like if Van Vliet or, the Harden rumors, then I'll be like, okay, I like Amen as the point guard in Houston. But any situation where I felt like he was going to play off the ball, him and his brother, I just felt like, man, they're basically being set up to where, I mean, whoever the primary ball handler is late in the shot clock is going to drive and he's going to face a wall and he's just going to see one of the Thompson twins wide open and he's going to pass it to him. And the results aren't going to be good at all. And so I just wish I wish both of those guys would have had the opportunity to play a role where they had the ball in their hands a little bit more. I mean, we know they're phenomenal athletes and we know, just the things that they can do. But I think combined, they took 17 shots and half of their shots combined were threes. And we all knew coming into the season that their biggest flaw was shooting. Now, Asor only took 2 threes and he made one of 2. But Amen shooting 7 threes.
I know we gotta wrap up the show, but like this is the problem that I have with part of the modern NBA. Not like, yes, I get it. 3-point shooting, it's sexy. It's the whole thing. That is the entire focal point of the NBA. Like at this point, like generally speaking, from a raw standpoint, 3-point shooting is the most important thing in the league. But just because it doesn't mean every single player has to shoot. And that's one of those things where it's like everyone is trying to copy everyone so hard that there's no creativity, it feels like. And having a non-shooter take 7 threes in a game is something where, it makes casual fans go, well, it's all the exact same script and how they're going to play. And that's really, I think, a turnoff for a lot of people too. So it's a double value thing, right? Where it hurts Amen Thompson. I think it hurts the Rockets and it also hurts the viewership because any game you can watch the exact same thing happen. It's what it might feel like.
Well, yeah, because every team kind of like has their guy. And then outside of that, you're just a complimentary piece that kind of stands in the corner and you wait for them to feed you. And that leads to a lot of guys shooting wide open threes. So, but it'll be interesting to see. I know the fans are going to be definitely questioning how you left Amen Thompson off, but I thought you did an excellent job of explaining it. I do think he is going to get the minutes. He's going to get more minutes than some of those other guys. So I think the minutes are going to lead to some type of points. But I don't know what to think of Houston. I know it's only one game, and it was close. I think Orlando was up pretty big. Then Houston made it close, and then next thing you know, it just got really out of hand.
5 minutes in the third quarter, that was it.
Yeah, but I don't know, like who is their go-to guy? Like who? Like I just don't know the direction. A lot of I don't know, and this is with Kevin Porter Jr. there. I mean, it would have been even a little bit more messier as far as their rotation if Kevin Porter Jr. was playing. So I feel like Amen benefited from him being gone. But then again, maybe Ime would have been like, nah, this guy's not he's not. But who knows? Because I wasn't a fan of how Jalen Green looked also. Well, all right, the last 2 questions. Who is your Walker Kessler? Who's your guy that comes out of nowhere that has a surprise rookie season?
Man, so does it have to be a team that surpasses expectations like 1-to-1 or just somebody who just overachieves?
Someone that overachieves. And I mean, I guess Keontae was the 16th pick and you have him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could put him
it's
there.
It's him or Jaquez. I think Jaquez is closer to the bill because he's going to be on a winning team. I think his minutes against Detroit looked pretty good. Some of them were kind of plain, and I think a good amount of them were up when they were up 20 before they blew the lead. But still, he played in a meaningful game one way or another. And I think he looked like an NBA player who, it's funny, 2 years ago, if you had told me that this sentence would be coming out of my mouth, I would not have believed you. Like, he has improved so much since, I mean, really, like 2021. He's been fantastic. Since the end of that season, he has been phenomenal.
All right, last question. Let's kind of put you on the spot. Who is this year's Johnny Davis? Who's the lottery pick that really struggles and is the first one to get sent to the G League?
Sent to the G League is tough. I think the most struggling player is going to be Jordan Hawkins or Grady Dick. I mean, I think those are two guys that, just based on everything we've seen over the last couple of months, the inefficiency for Jordan Hawkins scares me. Grady Dick barely played. May need a second, but the first player sent to the G League, I think it's going to be Taylor Hendricks. And it's not because he's bad. I just think the front court's pretty stacked there, and they don't need him the second. They don't need him to be great. It's more going to be getting reps, but he's going to be someone I think that struggles to find playing time. So he's the closest one, but it's not because of ability.
Yeah, I mean, it's just funny because he was the guy that everybody wanted Dallas to take at 10. He goes higher than what Mavs fans wanted. And now he's in a situation where he's, going to pile up a lot of D and P CDs unless something changes while Dallas moves back, gets lively, and Lively's probably going to play 25 minutes per game plus. Fit is so important. Well, that wraps up this episode. You'll definitely hear more from me and Richard. Next week, we're going to talk about college basketball because college basketball is finally back. We are in full basketball season starting next week, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. Once again, it's Rafael Barlowe with Richard Stayman, and we are out.